Have you ever spent, hours reading a textbook or watching tutorials, only to realize a week later that you barely remember any of it? It's so frustrating, right? But what if the problem isn't how much time you're spending, but how you're spending it? Today, we are going to unpack a scientifically backed method that lets you trade all that wasted effort for deep, lasting understanding. So first, we've got to accept a kind of a hard truth. Our natural instincts about learning, they're often just plain wrong. We think, oh, I just need to study for more hours, highlight more, reread more. But, cognitive science tells a totally different story. It is not about volume. It is all about the quality of your engagement with the material. And this is our roadmap for today. This 7-step loop isn't just a random list of tips. It's a whole system built on really solid findings in learning science. So let's walk through it, step by step, right from the top. Our journey begins not with absorbing information, but with priming our minds to actually receive it. This first phase is all about setting the stage for effective learning before you even open the book. Think of it as preparing fertile ground for new knowledge to take root. Step 1 sounds almost too simple. Question first. Before you read a single word or watch a single minute of a video, you start by defining just a few guiding questions. You're basically giving your brain a mission. And here is why this works so well. When you ask questions like, okay, what problem is this trying to solve? Or where would this idea break? You're firing up your prior knowledge. This literally primes the existing neural networks in your brain that are related to the topic, creating these little mental hooks where new information can just latch right on. It's the difference between throwing paint at a blank wall versus a wall that has shelves ready to hold everything. Asking those questions forces you to look right past the surface details and search for the bigger picture, which, you guessed it, builds directly into our next step. This here really shows the fundamental difference between a novice and an expert, right? Novices see all these disconnected facts. Experts, they see the deep underlying concepts. And effective learning isn't about collecting facts, it's about building those mental models that the experts use. And that's why step 2 is all about concept formation. It's that conscious effort to pull out the core principles. This quote just says it perfectly. Concepts are the scaffolding. Without a strong conceptual structure, any facts you memorize are they're just a pile of bricks with nowhere to go. All right, so with our brain primed and totally focused on concepts, it is time to get our hands dirty. This next phase is the active, engaged core of the whole process. This is where the real learning happens. It's not about passively receiving information, it's about actively wrestling with it. Step 3 is prediction. Now, before you look at the answer or a worked example, I want you to try to predict it yourself. This taps into this really powerful cognitive principle called the generation effect. See, the mental effort of just trying to generate an answer, even if you're totally wrong, cements that information in your brain way more effectively than just reading it passively. And the crucial point is this. Your brain learns so much more from a failed attempt and then a correction than it ever does from just being told the right answer up front. So failure isn't just okay, it is a powerful, productive part of learning. So after you predict, you move to step 4, simple examples and application. This is where something called cognitive load theory is key. The idea is that our working memory, it's kind of like a small workbench. It can only handle so much new stuff at once. So you don't jump into the deep end. You start with a super simple example, that's the see one part, and then you immediately apply it yourself, that's the do one part. This principle is absolutely critical. I mean it. If a problem is too complex right from the start, your brain spends all its energy just trying to manage the complexity, and there's no space left for actual learning. By starting simple and then slowly, gradually increasing the difficulty, you stay in that sweet spot where learning is both challenging and super effective. Okay, so once you've grasped the basics with those simple examples, it's time for step 5, boundary testing. This is the fun part. Here, you intentionally try to break the concept. You feed it incorrect inputs. You test extreme cases. You ask what if. This is how you discover the true edges and the real limits of your understanding. And this right here requires a huge mindset shift. Every single error you make during boundary testing isn't a failure. It is a data point. It shows you precisely where your understanding is a little fuzzy and what assumptions you need to correct. Your mistakes, they become your most valuable teachers. Okay, you've primed your brain, you've gotten your hands dirty. But how do you make sure all this hard work actually sticks around? This final phase is all about transferring that knowledge from your short-term working memory into durable, long-term storage.
Step 6 is compression. After you've worked through the material, you force yourself to summarize the key idea in just a few bullet points, maybe a single paragraph. Now, this isn't just about taking notes. The act of compression forces you to synthesize, to integrate, and to truly understand what you've just learned.
This is your ultimate self-test. Seriously, if you can explain a complex idea simply and concisely, it's a crystal clear sign that you've got it. If you can't, well, it tells you exactly where you need to go back and review. And once you've compressed the knowledge, the final step makes sure it lasts. Step 7, the spacing test. Instead of cramming everything at once, you deliberately wait. Wait a day, maybe a few days, and then test your recall without looking at your notes.
Now, this sounds kind of crazy, but spacing forces you to forget a little bit, and that's actually a good thing. That struggle to retrieve the information is what signals to your brain, hey, this memory is important. It triggers a process called reconsolidation, which strengthens the neural pathways for the future. So forgetting isn't the enemy, it's an essential part of building strong, long-lasting memories.
So let's just zoom out for a second. This whole thing, it's not just a collection of nice ideas. This entire 7-step process is a practical system that brings together decades of research into how our brains actually learn most effectively. See, the power of this loop is how it weaves together all these high-impact strategies. You're activating prior knowledge, you're building mental models, you're using prediction, you're learning from your mistakes, you're explaining it to yourself, and you're spacing out your retrieval practice. It's a complete system designed to work with your brain's natural tendencies, not against them. Ultimately, what you have here is the owner's manual for your brain. It's a shift from fighting your natural tendencies to working with them. So the final question, it isn't really about the method, it's about what you're going to do with it. What complex skill, what difficult subject, what new frontier will you master?